Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. I'm having a wonderful day. And we're going to talk about today a lot of decadent things, the things that a lot of people do that they say, well, yeah, I'm just partying, I'm just having fun. Want to cover some information about sugar. This is interesting. Just released. It was in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. An article came out. How the sugar industry hid the connection to heart disease and sugar for decades. The research was there. It was not published. It was kind of tucked away. And what this means to you and why sometimes you got to be careful about what you're hearing. I'm going to cover a little bit about that. We also want to cover coffee. Is it really good for you? It's a question that people ask me all the time. Well, Dr. Joe, I hear stories all the time that coffee is actually good for you. And I'll give you the pros and the cons on that one. I won't give you the answer to that one yet. And then also a new study out that shows cigars contain more nicotine than cigarettes, and they're just as addictive. I don't know if that's really a surprise to anybody. Because they're both tobacco. I never got that. That was something that always amazed me, is that people would talk about cigar. Well, I smoke a cigar. I just smoke cigars. I don't smoke cigarettes. Well, they're both bad. They're both made with the same thing. And the research out now and what that's doing to you. Now, the good news is a lot of people have stopped smoking. It's really changing day by day. Hopefully, this generation of children is going to be the last generation to ever smoke. Nothing good comes of cigarettes. We all know that. But when I give you the breakdown as to what it does to your body and how it affects your body, I think you'll kind of maybe think again twice if you are smoking. So let me talk about this article. In the 1960s, a debate began over the effect of sugar and fats on the cardiovascular system, and which was worse, sugar or fat. Researchers said that the sugar industry, wanting to influence the decision, funded the research to look into sugar consumption. And that's true a lot. Now, even with the research I talk about, I always want to be devil's advocate. Who paid for this research? And if I'm going to give you $1 million and I'm going to say, Ahmad, I want you to tell me that your favorite color is blue, what's Ahmad going to say?
Indigo?
Indigo, yeah. A wise guy, eh? Chances are Ahmad's going to say blue is his favorite color, right? And so many times it depends if you follow the money where it goes back to. And sometimes there's groups that own other groups and there's sub-corporations. But when you really trace it down, a lot of times that's you get what you want when you do the research. What happened is when it found the data suggested that sugar was harmful, the powerful industry pointed the fingers at fat. So like, sugar's bad. Who else can we blame it on? Fat. And then fat goes back to sugar goes back to fat, and now protein is jumping in there, and diabetes, and how processed foods can actually increase your risk of processed meats can increase your risk of diabetes, all meats, but especially processed ones. And so everybody's pointing the finger at everybody else. But you know who's never gotten their finger pointed at, got pointed at? How about that? The 4 foods that your body requires to be healthy, and that would be fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Every now and then you might hear a story of organic versus non-organic, but generally speaking, you don't hear a lot of bad press on fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. So that's what I want you to consider. If everybody else is arguing, the meat, the dairy, the soda, the artificial sweetener, the cigarettes, everybody's arguing amongst themselves, the 4 things that stand out that everyone says it's okay or fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Not even too much fruit. Too much fruit can give you too much sugar. Maybe 3-4 pieces a day maximum. So why not go with the things that you know work? Because here it is since 1960, we've been kind of deceived. An investigation was recently published in the journal PLOS Biology. Researchers from the University of California at San Francisco claim that newly uncovered historical documents indicate that the industry never disclosed the findings of its work and effectively misled the public to protect its economic interests. So I remember going to school a long time ago, and I thought history was history. History already happened, can't change, right? But it's turning out a lot of things change. Columbus wasn't the first person here in America. We all know, I hope we all know that. The Vikings were here, and they're going way back to the different groups have come here, and some people say that the Holy Grail even came here with the Vikings, that the knights. I'm sorry, why can't I think of that word? The knights, the Ahmad, help me out here.
Templars?
Templars. There you go. Thank you.
There
You go. Ahmad wins. Ding, 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 ding. Ahmad wins. I was picturing the cross and everything. The Knights Templar may have brought the Holy Grail here. So history does change, and it turns out that research can be hidden from history until it finally comes out. So after examining the sugar industry's internal documents, the University of California, San Francisco said that in 1968, the Sugar Research Foundation, which was organizational ties to the Sugar Association, funded animal research to explore the link between sugar consumption and cardiovascular disease. Rats were fed a high-sugar diet, didn't look good, and so they had to point the finger back at fats. And also, they also found, too, a connection between sugar consumption and an enzyme associated with bladder cancer. Wow. So several decades old, it's still significant as they show how long the sugar industry has spent de-emphasizing sugar's effect on health. So what else is lying? What else is bad? Well, everybody else can fight, but we know that there's a core supplements, core foods that work, the fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. So I want you to consider this. What if you actually tried to change your diet and actually ate the foods that everybody agrees are good, or generally speaking agree, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds? I've been doing this now for, I've been in practice 34 years, 32 years? Anyway, long time. And it blows my mind that patients come into my offices every single day. And I sit down with them, and I'm a chiropractor. I'm board certified in chiropractic, orthopedics, pain management, double board certified in nutrition, BS in nutrition, a retired dietitian, award-winning author. This radio show was heard coast to coast and around the world. I just heard last week, it looks like the thing, I didn't even tell you this yet, Ahmad. It looks like the TV show is going to be back in action.
Yay.
They said about 90 days before they launch. So,
sweet.
Before we launch, I guess. Not they, we're the show, right?
Awesome.
So that's good news. So there's a lot of people excited about getting the information on good health. And I always say you have to have a normally functioning nervous system, a normally functioning digestive system, and good nutrition. Those are the three things that have stood the test of time and I believe always will stand the test of time. So if you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, muscle weakness, this is a sign that you probably have pinched nerves. And the best way to treat a pinched nerve is to unpinch it. I know it hit you with logic there, didn't I? So if you have a pinched nerve, unpinch it. And many times that relieves the pain, but 90% of your nerves don't feel pain. You don't feel your blood pressure, your spleen, your kidneys, your earwax, your toenails. So we want to unpinch the nerves because it hurts, but also opening up nerves to organs. And if you have acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, many times that means that the stomach is actually misaligned. And we may have to adjust or realign the stomach. Folks, going to have to go to a break. I'm going to open up the phone lines. If you have any questions on health, any health questions, the number's 844-44-Dr. Joe, 844-44-DRJOE. My website, if you need more information, if you have questions, you can send them to me through the website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. Lots of good information there. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram. Tell your friends about the show. We're going to be right back. Friends about the show. I am so glad that you're here today. Hope everybody's having a great day. We're talking about vices today, all the vices that you may be partaking in and what they're doing to your body. And we covered sugar. We'll probably go back to sugar. I got a lot to talk about on sugar, of course. That's a big one. I do want to cover this coffee thing, though, because Ahmad looked at me weird when I said coffee. You want to know about this, Ahmad, or should I just skip this story?
I would love to know.
You want to hear about this? Okay. All right. A review of more than 200 studies finds that drinking coffee is associated with a lower risk of death and heart disease in addition to other health benefits. Sounds like a good title, doesn't it?
Yeah, but that's a good thing, right?
That's a good thing, right? Let's go a little deeper into this. Kind of blowing apart some stories here today. Good show. We've got to blow it apart a lot of news reports here. All right. So French fries, sugar, of course, is out. Alcohol is out. But a lot of people are now saying, listen to that article, coffee's still okay. Now, coffee, according to this article, gets a green light unless you're pregnant or a woman with risk of fracture. And I found that interesting that they just kind of threw that line in there. If you're pregnant or at risk of fracture, you don't want to drink coffee. And they never explain why. And I want to go over why with you. Because coffee is an acid. And when you put acid in your body, the body has to neutralize acid. Because if you become too acidic, you die. And so the body uses calcium as its primary neutralizing agent. The body is giving up calcium from the blood, from the muscles, and particularly from the bones to neutralize the stomach acid, to neutralize the acid from the coffee. So here they kind of throw it out there real, hey, unless you have a risk of fracture, just don't want to drink coffee. And then they move on, talking about the research is showing that it's actually good for you. Well, there may be some benefits here. And again, it's one study. Consumption was associated with lower risk of specific cancers, including prostate, endometrial, melanoma, non-melanoma skin cancer, and liver cancer. Consumption also had beneficial associations with metabolic conditions, including type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, gallstones, gout, renal stones, and for liver conditions like hepatic fibrosis, cirrhosis, and cirrhosis mortality issues. So it sounds good. And finally, there seems to be an association between coffee consumption and Parkinson's disease, depression, and Alzheimer's disease. They found the biggest reduction in relative risk of death was a sweet spot of 3 cups of coffee a day compared to non-coffee drinkers. Bumping that up to 4 didn't have any improvement. So he read this article, and you're thinking, well, I could drink whatever I want now. Let's go to the other side. Let's go to the dark side. High acid, we talked about that, robs the body of calcium. You don't want to lose calcium in your body, and it has to. Whenever you eat acid foods, and there's the big 7, I call them, the 7 deadly sins: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. Those are the big 7. Those are the ones that always have an acid ash. Now, what's that? When you eat something, once it's digested, what's left is an ash. Just like if you burn wood, what's left is an ash. And so the acid ash is the thing you have to be worried about. If you use raw organic apple cider vinegar, it's acidic to begin with, but the ash is alkaline. That's why drinking raw organic apple cider vinegar has a lot of health benefits. But you're eating these 7 foods: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. It's an acid ash. The body has to use calcium to neutralize the acids. That's not a good thing. Coffee is one of the most highly sprayed foods there are. When I say sprayed, with chemicals and pesticides. And so if you're drinking coffee, they don't wash all these chemicals off, or the chemicals can actually get into the plant itself, and you're going to be consuming them. So I don't want you to get these chemicals, because a lot of the chemicals they use are endocrine disrupting chemicals. What does that mean? It messes with your hormones. And most of the endocrine disrupting chemicals act like estrogen. And estrogen causes abnormal cell growth. And estrogen causes you to lay down fat. And fat produces estrogen, which causes you to lay down fat, which produces estrogen. Now, my chiropractic offices, my team of doctors and I, we work to get you as healthy as we can, as quickly as we can. And that's why with our patients, we always want to do a nutritional workup. Some patients don't want it. You know what, doc? I'm just here for chiropractic care. Okay, that's fine. I don't argue with patients. I've learned that years ago. But it's a good idea to do it, because why wouldn't you want to get well as fast as possible for the least amount of money? And a lot of patients come to us, of course, with neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, car accidents. I've never seen a car accident ever in my 33 years of practice where the car was damaged where the occupants weren't. If the car was damaged, you were damaged 100% of the time. And so they come to us for pain, but I also tell them, I want you to heal as fast as possible. So you got to give the body the raw materials that it needs in order to heal properly. And if you're not giving it the proper nutrition, it can't heal as fast, sometimes not at all. You know, if you have a wall that the mortar is crumbling, well, you got to put really good quality mortar in there to make sure that you cement the blocks together. If you're putting cheap stuff in, it's just going to fall apart again. And that's what the raw materials are: fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. That's why I created something called Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. If you don't know what they are, if you're a new listener, they're 2 products. I created them years ago, and they're amazing. In fact, I was just talking about this at a party last night. Somebody asked me, what's the best supplement for vision? Somebody my age and getting older. And I said, well, I take Super Greens and Essential Source because I have macular degeneration. And I was told, was it 4 years ago now, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I guess, that I was going to go blind. So I created Super Greens and Essential Source. It's tons of antioxidants and nutrients and raw fruits and vegetables in a powder form. And my macular degeneration is probably about 60 to 80% better. Never happened before. The doctors can't find any research anywhere where macular degeneration got better, and mine is getting better. Pretty cool. So it's the minimum amount of nutrients, the core nutrients that your body needs every single day. So let's assume you're going to read this article on coffee, and you're going to say, this stuff is great. Obviously, it's going to help me live longer, and I'm going to drink 3 cups of coffee a day, and that's awesome. But it's robbing the body of nutrients. It's a diuretic. Makes you pee, right? So you're losing tons of nutrients when you're drinking coffee. Makes you go to the bathroom, makes your bowels move, right? Some people say, I have to have my coffee to go to the bathroom. Plus, it's highly sprayed with chemicals. Caffeine stresses out your adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands produce adrenaline. They produce anti-inflammatories. They produce hormones. Your testicles, your ovaries, and your adrenal glands are the organs that produce your sex hormones. It makes you pee, so it dehydrates you. So if you're going to do coffee, I don't recommend you do. I recommend you do organic only. This way, at least you're avoiding the pesticides. If you can do organic decaffeinated, better still. But at least replace those nutrients that you're wasting. We all waste nutrients every day with things like Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. And they're two powders. They taste great. I got them sitting right here in front of me in the studio. If you want more information, that's on my website as well, drjoeesposito.com. It's under the store link. Or just Google Dr. Joe, number one Dr. Joe in the world. Also available on Amazon. If you have an Amazon account, you can order right from there. I'm telling you, once I just walked past one of my coworkers here in the studio. He says, Dr. Joe, I want to tell you, I'm going to see I have one of my offices that I don't work at, my Dr. Dave. We're seeing Dr. Dave. He's awesome. Love him. I've taken the Super Greens, the Essential Source. Totally changed my life. So this stuff is pretty amazing. So that's on the website. It's also on Amazon. I got to go to break? I got way too much to talk about. All right, we're going to come back. Folks, if you have a question, lines are open. 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. My website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. We archive our radio shows there. If you have questions, you can send me through the website. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram. Sign up for my newsletter. That's right on the website as well. It's no charge, and I send out lots of good information. And come out to my live events. Love to have you come out to the live events. They're a lot of fun. I videotape them and put them on my website as well, drjoeesposito.com. Hey, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back on. Hey, folks, thanks for being here. Glad you could spend a little time with me today. And what we're talking about today, we're talking about your vices. I was going to just it kind of turned into this show by accident. But about your vices, sugar, cigarettes, coffee, the things that so many people live on and just say, I couldn't live without my coffee in the morning. How many of you say that? Raise your hands. A lot of you. Yeah, I read this a while ago. I don't know if it's still true, but the number one import into the United States is oil. And number two import is coffee. Now, again, I don't have the specific stats on that. I don't have that article in front of me, but I remember reading that years ago and thinking, we really drink that much coffee? And then I started looking around because I don't drink coffee. It's not something that's, in my forefront. And I realized how many people drink coffee. And I thought, wow, this is really amazing. Now, why are we doing this? Well, why do you drink coffee? Most people drink it because you're tired all the time. Now, some people say it tastes good. I don't understand that. I've tried drinking it. It tastes awful as far as I'm concerned. You got to add sugar and cream, and we just talked about sugar a while ago. And I don't get why you think that's good. And then this new report came out that says that coffee is actually good for you and can decrease your risk of cancer and melanoma cancers and prostate cancers and help with gallstones and gout and renal stones. And that was one spin on the coffee. What that report didn't cover is that we said coffee is an acid, which means it robs your body of calcium. It's loaded with chemicals. It's sprayed with a lot of chemicals. So every time you're drinking coffee, you're sucking down these chemicals. The caffeine stresses out your adrenal glands. So the way caffeine works is this. I don't know if you know how it works. It doesn't give you energy. It actually robs your body of energy. So there's a chemical in your brain called adenosine. And adenosine is released, and it's absorbed by something called the adenosine receptor sites. And adenosine is absorbed by adenosine receptor sites, and then you get tired. So it's the reason you get tired. It's the way the body works. The brain needs downtime to reboot itself. And so the adenosine is being absorbed, and caffeine looks like adenosine chemically. So when you drink coffee, it blocks up your adenosine receptor sites, so you can't absorb the adenosine, so you don't get tired. Did you follow all that? A lot of chemistry there, I know. But so what happens is it just prevents you from getting tired. It really doesn't give you energy. And then eventually your body says, no, wait a minute. I need rest. My brain has to heal. My body has to heal. So I'm going to produce more adenosine receptor sites so that I can absorb more adenosine so that I can get tired. And so what happens is when you used to drink 1 cup of coffee, and the caffeine was enough to block up your adenosine receptor sites, now you need 2 and 4 and 6 and 8 and 10 and 12. I know a lot of you are out there drinking 10, 12 cups of coffee a day. I know who you are. You come in as patients. And as a chiropractor, we try to adjust you, and it's like hitting a brick wall because the muscles are so tight. Not only are the muscles tight, but you're also dehydrated. And so you're dehydrated. When you get dehydrated, you get tired. So when you get tired, what do you want to do? Drink more coffee. So a simple fix for you is drink more water. If you drink more water, you're going to have more energy, and hopefully you can cut back on the coffee. We don't want to burn out those adrenal glands because adrenal glands produce adrenaline to give you energy, but they also produce prostaglandins, which help with inflammation. Now, as a chiropractor and a pain management specialist, patients come to us all the time with pain, and pain is always associated with inflammation. All diseases are associated with inflammation. So if you can't control the inflammation with your prostaglandins, now you got a problem. So we got to make sure we get the inflammation under control, and if your adrenal glands can't do that, you're in deep doo-doo. And then it also produces pregnenolone, Pregnenolone becomes DHEA. DHEA is the precursor to your sex hormones, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. But if you're under stress, the DHEA becomes cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone, and that causes you to gain weight. That causes you to not sleep. It causes you to age. So the caffeine short-term might give you energy, but long-term is going to cause a lot of damage. You got to kind of go downstream to see what the caffeine does to you. So if you're drinking coffee because you want to help reduce your risk of cancer, well, how about you just live a healthy lifestyle? Stay away from the alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. Eat more fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Take supplements like Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source. We do a supplement protocol for every one of our patients. That's just the basics. So it's kind of funny when I read this article that people who drink coffee might have lower risks of certain cancers and gallstones. But if you live a healthy lifestyle, you also have a lower risk of cancer and gallstones and gout. So what they're saying here is instead of treating the cause of the problem, which is bad diet, which is pinched nerves, which is a bad digestive system, why don't we just say that coffee's going to help you and then you can just drink coffee and that's it. But that's so often what we do in healthcare. We try to come up with something to say, hey, listen, if I give you this pill, like the opioid crisis, if I give you opioids, it'll help with your pain. Well, it does. It works great. But if you have an addictive personality and you get addicted to these things, your life can fall apart. In Georgia, for the Christmas holiday 2017, they have over 9,000 children in the Atlanta area, I guess it's all of Georgia, in the foster home system, in the foster care system. And a lot of those numbers are due to the fact that the parents became opioid addicted and then they became heroin addicts, and they could no longer take care of their children. So, boy, look at the long-term effects, the ripple effects that occur when you don't take care of yourself. And so many times when it comes to pain, I'm going to get on a soapbox here for a second. So many times when it comes to pain, it's due to pinched nerves. And it's usually an easy thing to unpinch the nerve. Not always. But we work with a team of doctors. We work with medical doctors, surgeons, neurosurgeons, vascular surgeons, orthopedists, neurologists to try to get to the cause of the patient's problem and not just treat the symptoms. And most patients like that approach. And we've had patients come in that are addicts. And once we start getting them well, we start getting rid of the cause of the pain, and then we start getting them on a good diet, they're much better able to manage their addiction. So it's a good idea to get well, not just treat symptoms, but get to the cause. So back to coffee again. If you're going to drink coffee, I recommend organic only, or don't drink it. For every cup of coffee you drink, I want you to drink 3 glasses of water. Number one, you're going to have more energy, so you drink less coffee, but coffee is a diuretic. It makes you pee. And when you dehydrate, that can cause inflammation, cause more pain, cause digestive problems, brain fog, and you think you just need more coffee when in reality the coffee is actually making it worse. So what if we simply drank more water? If we did nothing, and I always do this when I do my shows, if you're a regular listener, what if you just do one thing today? What if the one thing you do today is drink more water? What if the one thing you do today is to take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source so you have the minimum amount of nutrients your body needs? What if you got better sleep? What if you had acid reflux and we massaged or adjusted your stomach away from the diaphragm? Now you start to see a healthcare plan start to form. Not insurance plan, a healthcare plan. And that's pretty exciting. So, and folks, if you have a question, I forgot, we have an open line here. If you have a question, give us a call. The number is 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. My website, if you want to get more information on Super Greens and Essential Source, if you want more information about other shows we have archived, our podcasts, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, number one Dr. Joe in the world, real easy to find us. Check out what I'm doing live lectures. I would love to have you come out to the live lectures. They are so much fun, and I can show you things I can't show you on the radio because so much of healthcare is physical, not chemical. And we videotape those too. They're on my website. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, folks. Got a lot of good information there. But the website, again, drjoeesposito.com. The number here at the studio, 844-44-DR-JOE. Hey, a lot more to talk about. We're going to talk about cigarettes and cigars, a little bit more on sugar. Tell your friends about the show. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks, thanks for being here. Do appreciate you taking a little time out of your day. Hopefully you're going to learn lots of good things so we can naturally get you well and keep you well. That's our goal. The goal of the show is to give you the tools that you need to get well and stay well. Because every day everywhere I go, somebody stops me and says, Dr. Joe, I can't thank you enough for the information I've got from your show. I was at a party the other day, a big MRI hospital company had it, and this guy comes up to me, probably in his mid-30s. He says, you remember me? I said, nope. He says, you spoke to my high school class when I was 16 years old. He says, and it totally changed my life. And here he was, a lawyer now, a successful lawyer. And he said, I just want to thank you. He said, I didn't know if I'd ever run into you again. He says, you look exactly the same. I said, good. That's an excellent thing. A little less hair maybe. But he says, you look exactly the same. I just want to thank you for that. So here the information we gave out to a high school kid, summer school, high school, and he was 16 years old. He still remembers it to this day. So it's pretty good stuff. I got a lot more to cover, but I'm going to start taking some calls. If you have a question, 844-44-Dr. Joe, 844-44-DRJOE. Lisa, how can we make your day better?
Hey, Dr. Joe, how are you doing today?
I'm just so happy you called.
I was calling to see how you could get rid of pneumonia. My mom and dad both got it.
Oh, that's a tough one, yeah. A couple of things with pneumonia. Fluid builds up in the lungs. And so we got to get something that can attack viruses, germs, bacteria, fungus. We got to get something. If there was such a drug that would affect viruses and bacteria, that would be the thing I'd recommend. And unfortunately, there are no drugs that do that I know of, but there are certain foods that do that. And the best thing for someone who has viral and or bacteria infections is going to be garlic.
Garlic?
Take a clove of garlic, put it through a garlic press or smash it up. Let it sit for about 5 minutes because it has to, the chemicals in the garlic, once it's smashed, have to interact with each other. And then eat it. Now, you can eat it. Don't cook it. You want to just add it to salad, add it to soup. Of course, if you have pneumonia, soup sounds good. But don't cook it in the soup. Just add it and do that. Okay. If it were me, and again, this is not a prescription. I'm not here to tell you don't take your drugs. But if it were me, I would take about 2 cloves at least twice a day, maybe 3 times a day. The other thing I would do is raise my body temperature. Because when you get a fever, that's what the body's doing. It's raising the temperature to help kill off the viruses, germs, and bacteria. So a hot bath is spectacular. Because now keep an eye on them. We don't want them passing out in the tub, of course. And you have to drink a lot of fluids. Because the fluids are the things that are going to keep the body hydrated. Now, the other thing, too, with pneumonia is laying down can be real dangerous. I mean, you do lay down, of course, at some point, but don't lay in bed all day. A lot of people get pneumonia because they're not moving around. So getting up and moving around is really important. And then you can cup your hands and then tap on their lungs. And like a cupping sound you'll get. Tap over their front of their chest and the back of their chest, and that'll break up congestion as well. Okay? I have something that I take. It's called a seasonal booster. It's on my website, and it's ginger, horseradish, cayenne pepper, onion, and garlic pureed in an apple cider vinegar. It's antibiotic, antiviral, antifungal, opens up blood vessels. But again, I can't legally say I'm treating a disease. But whenever I feel under the weather, I take the seasonal booster, because it really helps tremendously to get the body's own immune system. Now, if you're taking medications or drugs, stick with it. I'm not here to tell you not to do that. But raise the body temperature, a lot of fluids, keep moving around, tap on the lungs, garlic, and then the seasonal booster is something I would do. And I do that whenever I get a little cold coming on or anything, and it seems to work pretty well.
Okay, and one other question. How can you make your blood pressure come back up? I've been having spells where it's dropping real bad.
That could be an adrenal problem. Usually when the blood pressure drops, it's an adrenal issue. Do you have bags under your eyes?
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay, yeah, that's usually a sign of adrenal insufficiency. So in cases like that, you got to cut out the coffee and the sugar, and I'm going to talk about cigarettes in a second, but anything that's going to be a stimulant. But you can also take some adrenal supplements. We have some really good ones at our office. We have them for vegetarians, for non-vegetarians, and I take them every day. Okay, I take something called ashwagandha, and that helps the adrenal glands. Because as you get older, the adrenal glands are always stressed out. We want to boost them. So you probably need to kick in your adrenal glands for that one.
Okay, and I have one other question.
Sure.
I have a yeast infection real bad, and it's got into the butt part real bad, but my doctor's been giving me medicine.
Sure.
What else can I do for it?
Yeast infections usually come from an imbalance of the bacteria in your colon. Now, in your colon, you have bacteria, lots of them, and you also have something called yeast, candida. And if you did a lot of antibiotics at some point in your life, the antibiotics can kill off the good and the bad bacteria in your colon, but they don't kill off the yeast. And so now the yeast don't have competition because you're killing off the bacteria that they compete with for food, and so the yeast start to multiply. And then the yeast will burrow a hole in your colon, get into your blood system, and now you have what's called a systemic yeast infection, which is what the doctor's treating with the drugs. The problem with that is that if you don't rebuild the bacteria in your colon to create competition, once the drugs wear off, the yeast says, oh, okay, let's start making more yeast babies. And you make more yeast babies. So you really got to work on balancing out the bacteria in your colon, and you do that with probiotics, which are good bacteria, and something called prebiotics. Prebiotics feed the bacteria that's already in your colon so they can start to multiply and make bacteria babies and then fight off the yeast. Did you follow all that?
Yes. Are there any kind of foods that you could eat that could help it too?
There's a couple of foods are good in prebiotics. Artichokes are very high in prebiotics. Really, most vegetables are going to give you some prebiotics. Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, both of them are great sources of pre and probiotics. That's why I take them every day, and I think you should too.
Yeah.
But the yeast is tricky, and the key to the yeast, you got to cut out all sugar. That's breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, sugar, soda. And Lisa, don't wait till after holidays, after parties. You got to start today.
Yeah, I've been doing that, Dr. Joe.
Good. Perfect. Okay.
All right.
So that's what I would suggest. The yeast is a little more complicated, and I usually have to coach people through the yeast protocol. And we have a supplement protocol we can put you on as well. That usually, I need to hold your hand through that one. It usually takes a few months to get that back to normal. But it's really important you do, because that yeast can become serious and even deadly.
Yeah, so you have that in your office?
Yeah, if you call the office, 844-44-Dr. Joe, and I'm not on the air, you can talk to Tara or Kayla, and they can put together the protocol for you on the yeast.
Okay, thank you, and have a good night.
Thanks, Lisa. Appreciate the call. And, folks, if you have a question, like Lisa did, 844-44-Dr. Joe, 844-44-DRJOE. And she makes a good point with the yeast, and that's something that is so overlooked. And here's a little test you might want to try. It's in my book. It's called Prescription for Extreme Health. I talk about this test there. Get yourself a glass of clear water. Put it next to your bed, clear glass of water. Put it next to your bed. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, get together a big mouthful of spit and spit into the glass. And you can wait up till an hour and see if you start getting these little streamers coming off the spit. Kind of looks like tentacles of a jellyfish. And if you see that, chances are pretty high that you have a systemic yeast infection. And if you do, then we got to put together a protocol for you, because, like I said, that's something you cannot let that sit. You've got to work on that, and it's not something probably take more than I can do on the show here. Folks, got to go to break. If you have a healthcare question, lines are open, 844-44-Dr. Joe, 844-44-DRJOE. My website, if you want to order Super Greens, Essential Source. We talked about the seasonal booster. We have immune supplements there. drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, #1 Dr. Joe in the world. Also available on Amazon. Hey, tell your friends about the show. We'll be right back. I am so glad that you're here. Hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm having a wonderful day. Appreciate all you listeners. I appreciate when you call in. Lines are open if you have a question. 844-44-Dr. Joe, 844-44-DRJOE. You can also send me messages through Facebook if you want to. Don't send questions through Facebook if you can avoid it. If you have questions, you can send them through my website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, and I'll answer the questions. I answer them too. People ask, do you really answer them? Yes, I do. It really is me. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. We really want to get you the information you need to get well and stay well. And this is an ongoing process. This isn't something where I learned it, now I'm done. There's always new information. There's always new research coming out. And that's why I like to go through the research. It's what we do all day, every day. Johnny is on the phones. If you have a question, 844-44-Dr. Joe. Johnny will take your call. Ahmad's behind the big glass window here. I know our friend Mark calls it the takeout window. And I'm here in a studio, big studio, all by myself. It's so sad. But so call us if you have questions. Keep us entertained, 844-44-Dr. Joe. And we're talking today about your vices. And this show is kind of evolved here. Talking about the things that a lot of people do, and a lot of people say, well, this is how I relax, or this is just a little thing that I do, and like sugar, coffee, gosh, how many people do coffee several times a day? Cigarettes, this is funny. I want to cover this one too, and then I'll take some more questions and callers. But this was funny. Cigars contain more nicotine than cigarettes, and they're just as addictive. Now, I thought to myself, I read this headline, and I thought, doesn't everyone know that? Doesn't know that cigars and cigarettes are made from tobacco? Cigars can be just as harmful and addictive and contain just as much, if not more, nicotine. This is what this new study came out. Somebody paid for this study, folks. Hope it wasn't your tax dollars. The team found that when they measured the nicotine levels, the nicotine delivered by small cigars was higher than those in cigarettes. Nicotine delivered by small cigars was 1.24 milligrams per cigar, and compared to 0.87 in cigarettes, so it was actually more nicotine in the cigars than the cigarettes. And I thought, well, why is this new news? I don't get it. Now, what happens, and I've reported on this a long time ago, and years ago, I talked about cigarettes, and I said that you get 100 billion free radicals per puff of cigarettes. Now, a free radical is like Pac-Man. It attacks things. And this is free radicals. These are the things that speed up the aging process. They make you look old. They eat away at the connective tissue in your body. They cause disease. They can cause cancer because the free radicals can attack the DNA in your cells and cause abnormal cell growth. Some pretty serious stuff. And so 100 billion free radicals per puff was outrageous. Crazy amount. I was wrong. It's not 100 billion free radicals per puff. It's 100 trillion free radicals per puff of cigarette. Now, that's also with secondhand smoke. Now, it's rare that people smoke anymore. I guess maybe I don't go places where people smoke either, so I'm not really exposed to it anymore. But it still blows my mind. I was going to a restaurant the other day. I was up in New York, and one of the people we were with was in a wheelchair. So as I was pushing the wheelchair, I kind of got stuck at the door. We had to open the door and get the wheelchair through it, and somebody was smoking right outside the door. And I thought, who smokes anymore? But I realized then, too, that it's an addiction. Just like sugar, just like coffee, just like heroin, just like cocaine, just like opioids, it stimulates the pleasure centers in your brain. And when those pleasure centers fire off and things like dopamine are released into the brain, you get high. And when you get high, you can't think straight. I don't know anyone who smokes that says, I think I need to smoke more. I think I need more free radicals. I need to stink more. I need to really adversely affect my social life, my business life. I think I need to smoke more. Most people I talk to say, I need to smoke less. I know I shouldn't do this, but when I'm stressed out, when I'm tired, when I'm hungry, if I stop smoking, I eat too much. Because what happens is the cigarettes are stimulating the pleasure centers in your brain. And then when you cut out the cigarettes, you're not producing your own natural endorphins or your natural dopamine. And so then you turn to things like sugar or coffee, which also stimulate the pleasure centers in your brain, and you get high from them. So what you're doing is when you cut out the cigarettes, you're swapping it with another addiction, usually sugar or coffee. And so what I find works really well with patients that have addictions, any type of addiction, is you get their body healthy. And when the body gets healthy, it's much better able to deal with the addiction. I remember going to an AA meeting years ago. A gal I was dating at the time, she told me she was a recovered alcoholic. Would I go to an AA meeting with her? And I said, sure. And I went, and I was amazed because here people are coming off the alcohol, but they're smoking, they're drinking diet sodas, they're drinking coffee. So they're replacing one addiction with another addiction. They gave up the alcohol, they were doing these other things. And so what we need to do then is say, how can I get my body to the point where I don't need external artificial stimulants? And we do that by getting the body healthy, eating things like fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds. I find a lot of addicts take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source because it's the core nutrients that your body needs every day. I take it at least once a day, sometimes twice a day. In fact, when I do a radio show, if I'm going on a date, if I'm going hiking, I'll take a double dose because my body uses up more nutrients when it's under stress, physical or emotional, and then I give the body the nutrients that it needs. It kind of reboots and goes back to normal again. But we've had a lot of addicts over the years get them on a good supplement protocol. Think the core being Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. If they're having problems digesting food, acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, many times we have to adjust their stomach. We massage the stomach down away from the diaphragm. As chiropractors, my team of doctors and I, we always check the nervous system. Because if you have pinched nerves, the nerves are not working properly. That creates stress. And when you get stressed, you want to not feel the pain or the stress, so you do stimulants to get high. And so when the body gets healthy, it doesn't need these external stimuli, and everybody wins. Nobody loses when you're healthy. Everybody wins. So why wouldn't you want to do it? And the biggest thing I find is people don't know what to do. They don't understand what they need to do to get healthy. And patients say all day, every day, people stop me at parties, a lot of parties these past couple of weeks for some reason. Doc, I would do exactly what you tell me to do. I just don't know what that is. So then we have to sit down, discuss with them, cut out the bad foods, eat the good foods, get the stomach fixed, get the spine fixed. And they go, I can do that. And some people do. Most don't. I was talking to a friend of mine, Karen, the other day, and she's a school counselor. And she retired. She said, I couldn't do it because I would tell the parents what needs to be done for the children, and they just wouldn't do it. And now she's working with divorced couples and dealing with kids. And she's saying, I don't know if I'm going to have any better results or not. because people hear it, but they just don't do it. So just do it, folks. At least do the Super Greens, the essential source. Information on that are on my website. I got to go to a break. drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. Send me questions through the website. If you want to order Super Greens, an essential source, you could also go to Amazon. A lot of our supplements are on Amazon as well, and so are my books. Hey, folks, got to go to break. The lines are open, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. Tell your friends about the show. We're going to be right back. I am so glad that you're here today. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. And I am Dr. Joe Esposito, the aforementioned. And we're talking today about your vices, the things that you do, and you say, well, I'm just going to do it a little bit, or I just do it because I'm tired, I'm stressed, I'm anxious, I'm at a party, I only do it when I'm drinking. How about that for smoking? How many of you say that? I only smoke when I drink. Well, gosh, there's two bad things going on right there. And then you probably do something stupid when you're drunk, too. So there's a lot of things that follow that. So the thing you want to do is get well. And if you're healthy, you don't need these things. And the lines are open if you have a question, 844-44-DR-JOE. Got a message from Larry, just sent it in to me on Facebook. And Larry says his low back hurts and he's got pain down the back of his leg. He says, is there anything to worry about? He's been taking medication for years, and the medication sometimes helps, but he wants to know if there's anything long-term that can happen. And the answer is, unfortunately, Larry, yes, there is. Patients who suffer from things like sciatic pain are at a risk of developing something called muscle atrophy. There was a study, it was a British study, and they found that patients with sciatica had decreased muscle mass, known as muscle atrophy. And the reason is this. The way the body works is your brain is sending messages down your spine, out your nerves, to every cell in the body. So there's a nerve that controls your heart, your lungs, your liver, your spleen, your kidneys, your earwax, your toenails. Everything is controlled because the brain tells it what to do. We're okay with that? So if you have a pinched nerve, it might hurt. And if you have sciatic pain, it's usually coming from the low back, shooting down the leg. But that nerve that you're pinching controls the muscles in your legs. It controls your blood vessels. It might give you a cramping, muscle weakness, cold feet. And so if you pinch a nerve, whatever on the other end of the nerve isn't going to work properly. Make sense? And so that's why you may develop things like muscle atrophy. Now, it occurs in people that usually have restricted range of motion due to an injury, a medical condition, sports. All of us have done something to hurt our low backs or our necks. Lifting, bending, squatting, housework, yard work, car accidents. So any type of injury that you've ever had in your life, slip and fall. I was out hiking the other day, and I saw this young gal. She was running, and she slid on the mountain and landed on her butt. A couple of weeks ago, I was skating up at Rockefeller Center in New York. And as I'm skating around, some people know how to skate, and some people don't. And I saw several people fall and land on their tuchus. And I thought several things happen when that occurs. Number one, you jam the low back bones together, and so you can pinch the low back nerves. There's a little tiny bone at the base of your coccyx, your tailbone, at the base of your sacrum called the coccyx. Now, the coccyx, underneath the coccyx, there's a big group of nerves called the ganglion impar. Now, don't worry about the names here. But if you fall on your butt real hard and twist that coccyx even a little bit out of place, you can put stress on the nerves called the ganglion impar, which is a group of nerves. It's kind of like a way station for other nerves, and that can affect every aspect of your body. And I've had patients come in with constipation, with sex drive problems, with sex function problems, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, frequent urination. And we check them, and sure enough, that little coccyx bone is twisted out of place. And it's, as they say in the South, a booger bear. I never knew what a booger bear was. I put it in context, I understand it, to try to get that little bone to adjust back into place. So it's a real challenge to fix that, but it needs to be fixed. And I have one patient now, and she fell really hard, and every now and then, if she sits for a long time on an airplane or something, we have to go in there and adjust the coccyx, and she's very pleased when we do because everything starts to work normally again. But sciatic pain is a lot more than just, hey, I got a pinched nerve. It's you're affecting whatever on the other end of the nerve. That's why it's so important that you seek treatment for things like that. Now, medication can cover up the pain, but it doesn't put the bone back in place. And slip and falls, that can also injure the disc. Now, the disc is a cushion, sits in between the bones, and if you twist the bones out of place, you can tear the disc. Now, if you can imagine the disc is like a jelly donut. It has a soft inside and a hard outside. And if you start to tear the fibers on the outside, that soft jelly donut inside can squirt out, and then you have a swollen disc or prolapsed disc. And that can cause some real serious problems, too. So, Larry, I'm glad you sent me the question. But yeah, taking medication is okay. It'll help cover up the symptoms, but it's not going to fix the cause. And the cause is almost always either a bone out of place or a disc. Putting it back in place and trying to get that disc back in place seems to be by far the preferred treatment. So, folks, if you have a question, like Larry did, 844-44-Dr. Joe, 844-44-DRJOE. My website, drjoeesposito.com. You can send questions through there. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram. Really good information we send out. I know just sent an article out recently on are you oversitting? People sit too much, and what that does kind of ties in with Larry's question about the low back and what happens when you sit too long and what you need to do about it. Because how many people sit all day? A lot of you. Now, I stand up when I do the show. Ahmad stands up. He's producing my show. Johnny's in there sitting down. Now, Johnny needs a phone call, 844-44-Dr. Joe. Make him work today. And I try to stand up as much as I can, but we all sit down. A lot of paperwork. It's not like the old days. We didn't have as much paperwork, so you got to get that going. So we're talking today about your vices. And we all have little vices, little things we shouldn't be doing, and we do. And I want to go back to sugar again, because sugar is probably the big one. That's the one that a lot of folks have problems with. And when I say sugar, it's breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, sugar, soda. Alcohol is a sugar. And so a lot of folks have this sugar addiction, and they don't realize it. They think, well, I just eat bread 3 meals a day. What's wrong with that? Everybody eats bread. Just because everybody does it doesn't mean it's good. There's a difference between normal and average. Normal is what it should be. Average is what everybody else is. Like, for example, if I donate blood, my blood comes out faster than everybody else's because I don't have a lot of viscosity. Well, I have healthy blood, but it's not really thick like a lot of folks have. They're dehydrated. They eat a lot of saturated fats. And so that's normal, but it's not average. They just lowered the blood pressure. I don't know if I must have an article on that here somewhere. But they just lowered what high blood pressure is, which means now well over half the people, about 60, 70% of people in this country now have high blood pressure as of a week ago. You didn't even realize it, did you? They changed what the normal is. And so, well, they changed what the average is. I shouldn't say the normal. And so now these people have high blood pressure. What do we do about it? And that was a report that I did, and I was worried because it's like, all these people have high blood pressure. What are we going to do about it? Well, diet, exercise, and medication. They kind of just threw in a diet and exercise as a little an afterthought. Is it a good thing? Probably. I think we all should have lower blood pressure. Mine is nice and low. I think we should all have lower blood pressure, but by lowering what we consider normal or average, that doesn't change the fact that people are now going to take more medication for it. People aren't going to start eating better. People aren't going to start exercising more. They're just going to say, oh, I have high blood pressure. I better take more medication. And the medication is a real serious problem because the medication has side effects. Now, I'm not telling you not to take your blood pressure medication, please. But if you have high blood pressure, start to try to find out why. Is it your diet? I find people that have hiatal hernia or acid reflux, the same nerve that controls the stomach controls the heart, called the vagus nerve. And if the stomach is irritating the vagus nerve, it can raise a patient's blood pressure. I have irregular heartbeat. And the only time I have it is when my stomach is up against my diaphragm. As soon as I pull my stomach away from the diaphragm, heartbeat goes back to normal. Folks, if you have a question, 844-44-Dr. Joe. My website, drjoeesposito.com. You can order Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, my books, Eating Right for the Health of It, Prescription for Extreme Health. We've got the seasonal tonics now, the things that help the immune system, the bowel cleansers, all on the website, drjoeesposito.com. Also, we have videos of my lectures. So what I want you to do is subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can get all those videos when they come out. Hey, got to go to a break. Do me a favor. Tell your friends about the show. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. Fun show today. Get a lot of fun things going. Talking about your vices. All the things you do that you think are cool, or maybe you just think that it's just once in a while thing and what it's doing to your body. Sugar, cigarettes, alcohol. Got to learn about these things because I hope that I can hit you with intellect. Because sometimes it's really hard to make an emotional change because many of you are addicted to what you're doing. You love your coffee every day. You could never give up your coffee. How many people say that? I can never give up my coffee. And then once we get them healthy, they say, Doc, I just realized I haven't been drinking coffee for the past couple of weeks. I don't need it anymore. Because we find that sometimes coffee is a crutch. People say, I like the flavor of it. But in reality, you're probably getting high off it. It's probably stimulating you, giving you a little, not giving you energy, but making you feel like you have more energy. We talked about a while ago how that works in the brain. And so I want to cover a little bit more about sugar because that's the big one. I think that's the biggest one of all. And it turns out some animal studies show that sugar is about 8 times more addictive than cocaine. Now, what happens is our taste buds have been hijacked by these hyper-sugared foods. You're eating these foods, and they're so over the top that as soon as you eat something that's a little less than that, so stimulating, it doesn't taste as good. I want more. So you've lost your ability to appreciate real food. And I see this a lot with people. So I think that maybe the most practical and radical thing you can do to help reverse obesity and to help get your health better is to start cutting back on your sugar. Now, I know it sounds like a radical idea because that's breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas. It's funny, I went to several parties in the past couple of weeks. I don't know why suddenly I'm getting invited to all these parties. And I walk in and people just look and they go, oh, it's Dr. Joe. Be careful what you eat. He's watching us. I don't care what you eat. I don't care what you eat as long as you don't care what I eat. Because people just get weird sometimes. And it always comes up as a conversation and people always start to laugh. Oh, yeah, I'm just having this. It's the first time I've had this in years. I don't care. I want to give you the information that you need to get well and stay well. Whether you use that information or not is totally up to you. As a chiropractor, most people follow our treatment plans. Because if you have a spinal injury, it's going to take time to get the bones back in place, to get the muscles to heal, to balance everything out. And most people follow our advice. Some don't. And the ones that don't, inevitably, end up back in our office months, sometimes years later. And they always say the same thing. I wish I'd listened to you the first time. You were right. Well, of course I'm right. I've been doing this for 32 years, 33 years now. I've been in practice, plus my graduate work. So of course I'm right. I know what works and what doesn't work. I've seen it. And I'm a patient too. Got to realize that I'm a patient. All my doctors that you'll see when you come in our offices, they're patients too. My staff are patients. And so I want to get the best possible care available to everyone. But it's unfortunate because some people, will come in, get a few treatments and say, I feel better. And they'll stop coming in. And I said, it's not about feeling better. It's about fixing the problem. And some people, of course, know more than me. And they'll come back 2 years, 5 years, 10 years later. We'll take new x-rays, put them up against old x-rays, and they'll go, oh, my gosh, it's so much worse. And I said, I told you it was going to get worse. And I've had people cry. I've had people punch the tables. I can't believe it's worse. Oh, my God, I'm so upset. And they're not upset with me. They're upset with the fact that their health is deteriorating. But you got to get it fixed. And if you listen to what we say, great. And if you don't, that's okay too. But with sugar, back to that again, we need to start taking control of that because it will cause damage. If you have bones out of place, they will wear out. They will lead to osteoarthritis. They have to. There's no other option. No one has bones out of place that don't eventually wear out. No one can continue on the sugar addiction that most people have and not have side effects. So sugar is a toxin. Now, I say it's a toxin. I'm talking about the pharmacological dose that a lot of people consume today. Consider this. The average kid eats about 34 teaspoons. That's about a half a pound of sugar every day. And a lot of that comes from sodas and sources like high fructose corn syrup. Now, these pharmacological doses, it's a medical dose if you want to call it that, you get from white flour, you get it from honey, you get it from cookies, donuts. So it's not just eating tablespoons of sugar. They make us fat, they make us sick, they switch on numerous obesity and diabetes genes. And that's what we're finding now too. A lot of this is having a genetic effect on you. Genes can be turned on and turned off. If you turn on the fat genes, so to speak, you start to gain weight. Turn on the diabetes genes. Starts to cause problems. In fact, they're turned on in all chronic diseases. The genes in your body are turned on when it's a chronic disease. And sugar is one of these things that has this magical power to flip the switch. So it's by far the most overused drug in the world and the most addicted. People addicted to it more than any other drug. It's the largest uncontrolled drug experiment ever conducted on humans. It's a big statement, but I mean it. Food is information. So when you give your body high fructose corn syrup and other sweeteners, they create hormone havoc. They start messing with insulin, which can then affect your estrogen, your testosterone, your adrenal glands. It starts affecting your pituitary gland, the pineal gland. It affects your melatonin levels, your dopamine, your norepinephrine, your epinephrine, your GABA. So the sugar is the thing that's just messing with you, and you think, I just like it. I like sugar too. Who doesn't like sugar? Sugar's yummy. But when you start looking at the long-term side effects that these things are causing, I hope I can hit you with intellect to get you off it. And it's interesting, too, because a lot of sugar that we use today is high fructose corn syrup. Now, years ago, 20, 30 years ago, we didn't have high fructose corn syrup. It was just plain sugar. High fructose corn syrup is substantially worse than just plain old sugar. And in some countries, a lot of countries actually, they still use sugar in their soda. In the United States, we use a lot of high fructose corn syrup. And what a lot of soda companies will do, they'll do a study of the people and find out what they like. And a lot of countries like old-fashioned sugar. So let's assume you go to Mexico. You're going to find the sodas there. If you go to a Mexican grocery store, a Latin American grocery store, you're going to find the sodas are sweetened with sugar. Even the ones that you drink here in the United States with high fructose corn syrup. So they change it to what people like. A lot of times, high fructose corn syrup has mercury in it. Now, how the heck does mercury get in the high fructose corn syrup? I don't know that. But when we test it, we find mercury. It's probably in the soil. And the high fructose corn syrup acts differently than plain old table sugar. Plain old table sugar is 50% fructose, 50% glucose. The glucose is used by your cells as fuel. It goes right into your cells, and your cells use it as fuel. The fructose has to be converted into glucose in order to be used by the body. The body doesn't use fructose as a fuel. And after about 20 grams of fructose a day, you start producing something called uric acid. Uric acid gets in your joints, and it hurts. Now, as a chiropractor, I'm big on pain management. And one of the pain management techniques I teach my patients is cut out the fructose. Uric acid prevents the body from producing nitric oxide. Nitric oxide opens up your blood vessels. So that's not good. So when you have these addictions, we talked about this earlier, you got to nourish yourself with super high concentrations of good nutrition. And the best source that I can think of to start with is Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. They're two powders. I just took a caller off the air a second ago with a question on it. They're two powders. I mix them with coconut milk or almond milk, shake it up, tastes great. And most people, after 2 or 3 or 4 days, start to say, wow, I really like this stuff. So you can get that on my website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. It's also available on Amazon. We have things that if you have cold and flu symptoms, I take certain things to keep my immune system strong. If the bowels aren't moving 2 to 3 times a day, those are on the website as well, Dr. Joe's Intestinal Cleanser. My archive radio shows, we videotape my live lectures. I want you to subscribe to my YouTube channel because we send out a lot of good information on a YouTube channel of videos that I do. And in the next couple of months, we're going to do a lot more little short videos for you. So follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, tell your friends about the show. Stop suffering needlessly, folks. Every day, patients come to me and say, Doc, I've listened to you for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. It's time I take a stance and get myself healthy. Don't be that person. Start getting well now. Folks, the lines are open, 844-44-Dr. Joe. Got to go to a break. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Break. Hey, folks, this is a show where we naturally get you well and keep you well. I want to give you the information that you need so that you can take control of your own health. Thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate it. And I want to thank you, too, for telling your friends about the show because so many people follow us on Facebook or like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to my YouTube channel because we send out a lot of good videos. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to send out a lot more, little short 10-minute ones, little tips that you can do on cooking, taking care of yourself, your house, keeping yourself hygienic. Talk about little things that you can do, like even types of soaps to use. And that's all going to be on the YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe to that, too. But I do appreciate you telling your friends because a lot of people will send me emails and say, hey, listen, my friend Bob said I should listen to your show. I went to your website. I listened to your archives. I listened to your YouTube channel, watched your YouTube channel, and it's changed my life. And I said, well, make sure you tell Bob. We said thank you or whoever your friend is. So a lot of good information there. We don't charge for it. It's there on the website anytime you want it, 24/7. Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, a lot of good information about those are on the website as well, the things that help your immune system. If you do have an active infection, some things that I like to take personally, the intestinal cleansers, if your bowels aren't moving 2 to 3 times a day, my books are there, just a lot of good stuff. If you have a question, you can always send them to me through the website as well, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. So what we're talking about today are your vices. Coffee, cigarettes, sugar, alcohol. Well, alcohol is a sugar. And what they're doing to your body and how easy it is to become addicted to these things. And we all do. I know if I have bread, all I want is more bread. And you're probably the same way. And a lot of us, unfortunately, you're eat sugar every day, so you don't realize how addicted you are, because you just assume it's part of your life. Try cutting it out. Here's a good little test I want you to try. Try cutting out whatever it is, the coffee, the alcohol, the sugar, the meat, the dairy. See how you feel. And if you just go, up, I gave it up, it was no big deal, cool. If you start going, yeah, I could really go for some dairy today, I really go for some meat today, I really go for some sugar today or some alcohol, you have a problem. You should be able to walk away from it. And what's funny is the healthy foods, the things that are really good for us, like watermelon. If I said to you, all right, I want you to not eat watermelon for a week, you'd go, okay, I can do that. No Brussels sprouts for a week. Okay, I could do that. But if I ask you to give up your coffee, that's a whole nother world then, isn't it? That's telling me that your body is not functioning well with this. So does that mean you could never do it again? Well, it depends on you. If you have these vices, cigarettes, coffee, sugar, those are the big ones we're talking about today, and you can have a cookie or a piece of birthday cake and you're done, then you're okay. I'm going to give you a special dispensation for that. However, if you eat it and you want more and more and more, then you have a problem. And here's a good way to know. You have any junk in your refrigerator right now? Cookies, cakes, donuts, breads? Do you think about it? Do you wake up? You have to go get them right away? Then you got a problem. And most of us do, because it's the way the body's trained. We're trained to want glucose. Glucose is the fuel that the muscles use, that the brain uses, that your nervous system uses. And so the body says, I want this. I need this to make myself run. And so in times of lack, if there's lean years, probably not in our society, but years gone by, as we were coming up and evolving, you probably were attracted to this. I want to eat this because it's going to feed my brain. It's going to feed my muscles. And now we've gone overboard because high fructose corn syrup is sweeter than sugar. And so where you'd normally eat a piece of fruit, then we took fruit juice, and that was bad. And then we took beets, and we took sugar cane, and we took the sugar out of that, and that was worse. And then we created high fructose corn syrup with mercury and genetically modified foods, and that's worse still. So if you're craving a piece of fruit, not so bad. Craving a soda, that's pretty bad. So what about alternatives? People ask me that all the time. What do you do? Well, you got to remember, honey is just loaded with sugar as well. I definitely want you to stay away from things like aspartame and sucralose. Those are the worst of the worst. If I had, people say of the 7 deadly sins, alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener, what's the worst? Worst? Worser? Yes, worst. I made a mod look up there for a second. It's got to be artificial sweetener. That's the worst of the worst. And how many of you do that every single day? A lot of you, because it's in over 6,000 products. So you're pumping these artificial sweetener into your body every day. And let's say you use aspartame. Aspartame breaks down to 3 components: aspartic acid, phenylalanine, and methyl esters. Aspartic acid is an excitotoxin to the brain. It causes your brain cells to fire off faster than they're supposed to, and you get excited by it. The problem is you're killing off your brain cells. Not a good thing. Phenylalanine has to be processed through your kidneys, and if you have a condition called phenylketonuria, phenylalanine can kill you. That's why it says not for people with phenylketonuria right on the package. And then methyl esters. Methyl esters converts into methanol. Methanol is wood alcohol. Now, if I were going to give you wood alcohol and ask you to drink a glass of it, you would have me arrested for attempted murder. It's a highly toxic poison, has a skull and crossbones on it if you buy it, and it's not for human consumption. But it converts into little amounts of wood alcohol. So the methyl ester converts to methanol. Methanol converts into formaldehyde. Formaldehyde is a class A carcinogenic. It's right up there with asbestos. That's how bad it is. It's the worst of the worst type of things that can cause cancer. And then it converts into formic acid, which is ant poison, which can cause an irritation as well. So I strongly advise you stay away from the artificial sweeteners. Sucralose stimulates your estrogen receptor sites, and it causes you to get estrogen in the body, and estrogen causes you to lay down fat, and fat produces estrogen, which causes you to lay down fat. And this is why the studies are coming out like crazy, showing that people that use artificial sweetener don't traditionally show a weight loss. They usually show a weight gain. Because also then you start craving carbohydrates. And that's the biggie. That's going back to the sugar again. I want more carbs. and the carbs convert into carbs are broken down into glucose. If you're not using it, converts into other problems as well. It turns into triglycerides, raises your triglycerides levels. So, folks, got to run. If you missed this show, you missed a great show. Go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, and you'll have hundreds of hours of radio shows to listen to there. Watch my YouTube videos that are on there. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Send out a lot of good information. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram. I want to be your source of information. If you want to order Super Greens, Essential Source, those are on the website, drjoeesposito.com. They're also available on Amazon. Folks, at least do that to get yourself well. Thanks for listening. Catch you next time. Thanks for listening.